Hi, I'm Ronald. Welcome to Bible Talk, where I break down the Bible. Today I'm discussing chapters 23 from the book of Genesis. Now, chapter 23 begins with Sarah's life, her death, and her burial. She lived 127 years, making her the only woman in the Bible whose age at death is recorded. Now, this gives us a measure how highly she was regarded in the Bible. Nowhere in the Bible are we told to look to Mary, the mother of Jesus, as an example of a godly woman. And yet twice we're told to look to Sarah as an example. Isaiah 51:1-2 and 1 Peter 3:3-6. Just saying. Sarah died at Kiriath Arba, that is Hebron, in the land of Canaan. Abraham went to mourn for Sarah and to weep for her. And 23:4 says, I am a foreigner and a sojourner among you. Now, Abraham did not feel this way because he came from Ur or the Chaldeans. It was because he recognized his real home was in heaven. Moses knew the same and commanded Israel to know it in Leviticus 25:23. David also knew this truth, 1 Chronicles 29:14-15, and Psalm 39:12. 23:4, give me property for a burial place among you. Abraham had a particular property in mind, the cave of Machpelah. Now, that property was in the land of Ephron, the son of Zohar. Now, in his travels around Canaan, Abraham had lived in this area and built an altar to God, Genesis 13:18. So he knew the cave well and was willing to pay full price for it. After the deal was made, 23:12 says, Abraham bowed down to the people of the land. He showed how a follower of God should conduct business with the world today, courteously, fairly, and prudently. Now, Abraham was remarkably generous in his dealings with Ephron by not counter-offering the suggested price of 400 shekels of silver. One reason that this is such a big deal about her burial place is that Abraham is buying a plot of land in Canaan, the land promised to him, but which is currently inhabited by his enemies. Now, chapters 24:1-4 begin with, Now Abraham was old and well advanced in years, and the Lord had blessed Abraham in all things. And Abraham said to his servant, the eldest of his household, who had charge of all that he had, put your hand under my thigh, that I may make you swear by the Lord, the God of heaven and the God of the earth, that you will not take a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites, among whom I dwell, but you will go to my country and to my kindred and take a wife for my son Isaac. Now, in our culture, taking an oath usually involves raising your right hand or placing your hand over your heart or on a Bible. But in ancient Hebrew culture, we do things a little differently. Genesis 24:9 describes an odd practice that involved Abraham's servant swearing to obey his master's command to find a wife for Isaac. So the servant put his hand under the thigh of Abraham, his master, and swore to him concerning this matter. Now, in Genesis 47:29, Jacob makes his son Joseph swear to bury him in Canaan, not Egypt. The same ritual is observed. Joseph is required to put his hand under Jacob's thigh as he makes the promise. Now, although it seems strange to us, placing one's hand under someone else's thigh has a symbolic purpose. In both cases, the request is made by a patriarch nearing death. Also, both oaths deal with family matters. In the case of Abraham and Jacob, the family was blessed by God himself, Genesis 15:5 and 28:14. Now, the thigh was considered the source of posterity in the ancient world, or more appropriately, the loins or the testicles. Under the thigh could be a euphemism for on the loins. Now, there's two reasons why someone would take an oath in this manner. One, God promised Abraham a seed, and this conventional blessing was passed on to his son and grandson. Abraham made his trusted servant swear on the seed of Abraham that he would find a wife for Isaac. And number two, Abraham received circumcision as the sign of the covenant, Genesis 17:10. So while we swear on a Bible, the Hebrew custom was to swear on circumcision, the mark of God's covenant. Now, the idea of swearing on one's loins is also found in other cultures. There's a lot of talk these days about President Trump's inauguration, where he chose not to put his hand on the Bible while being sworn in. In the New Testament, believers are taught not to make oaths, but rather to let their yes mean yes and no mean no, James 5:12. That is, we should consider all of our words to have weight of an oath. Others should be able to trust our words without requiring an oath. In 24:12, Abraham's servant kept his promise, obeyed Abraham's instructions, and prayed to Abraham's God for help. And in the end, God miraculously chose Rebekah as Isaac's wife. Now, Abraham's servant makes the oath and begins the journey to Abraham's homeland. He first goes to the well, which is a smart move because that's where the young woman would go to draw water. And before he even finishes his prayer, Rebekah appears. God has sent her to the well in his perfect timing to accomplish his plans. She's kind, generous, and has a servant's heart, but most importantly, she is from Abraham's clan. Her family doesn't want her to leave, but she finally cuts the cord and returns with Abraham's servant. And as she goes, her family prays the same blessing over her that God speaks over Isaac in 22:17-18. And then there's a beautiful moment when the 40-year-old Isaac, who is meditating in the field, meets Rebekah. They're both walking out their calling, and God crosses their paths through a weird oath, a servant's prayer, and a bunch of camels. That's it for today. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. God bless.